Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, amma ba'da. Habati fillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As'al Allah kareem rabbil arshil azim and yatawallana fi dunya wal akhirah. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, accepts our good and forgives our evil, puts barakah in the sitting, blesses us all with ikhlas, with abad, and helps us to be better slaves of His, and blesses us to die upon Islam and Iman. Ahabati fillah, continue on in our study of the Islamic Creed based on the Quran and the Sunnah by Sheikh Muhammad Jamil Azino, rahmatullahi alayhi, rahmatin wasi'ah. And he was talking about the dangers of shirk. The dangers of the major shirk. He says, what are the dangers and punishments of shirk al-akbar? Shirk al-akbar condemns one to eternal damnation in the hellfire, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّهُ مَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ وَمَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ مِنْ أَنصَارٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says في كتابه المبين إنه من يشرك بالله فقد حرم الله عليه الجنة. Verily, whomsoever sets up partners in worship with Allah, then Allah has forbidden for him paradise, and the fire will be his abode. And for the dhalimeen, there are no helpers. Now, ahabati fillah, when we contemplate this ayat, and we're not even, I wish I had time to go into the tafsir just of this ayah. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll have a separate sitting, and I'll prepare, and we'll go to some of the tafsir of this ayah. And now I'm very curious. This is going to be some of my homework. But we see from the apparent of the ayat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits shirk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits shirk. Sorry, not just prohibits shirk, but He prohibits the paradise. He prohibits paradise for the one who dies upon shirk, meaning shirk al-akbar. And hatta even the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, they differ about dying upon shirk, even the minor shirk. So there is a difference of opinion. My inclination, according to generally my scholars and some of the other views, is that dying upon the major shirk, then you will not be forgiven. But the minor shirk, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, you will be forgiven. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Kitabil Kareem, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَنْ يُشْرِكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Verily, Allah does not forgive that you associate partners with Him, but He forgives other than that for whomsoever He wills. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions shirk, and this is general. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushrika bi. Verily, Allah does not forgive that you commit shirk with Him. So that shirk that's mentioned in that ayat, qad yukun shirk al-akbar wa qad yukun shirk al-asghar. Yahtamil hadha wa dhak. So it is between, it's possible in meaning that it could be that or that, meaning the major or the minor shirk. So this is the wajh of how the scholars deal with this. And as I said, ulama of Ahl Sunnah differ on that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But what do we learn from that? We learn, ahabati fillah, the importance of being away from shirk in all of its manifestations and forms. Absolutely. We have to be as vigilant as possible. All of us know that. But one of the things I've learned in coming back from Saudi Arabia, the land of Tawheed, coming to here, back to America, is I've learned, and I've been in so many predicaments and situations, especially when it comes to jobs, when it comes to the work environment, where you find yourself in situations you never could have imagined yourself in with regards to shirk and kufr. Shirk and kufr. Whereas when you're in a protected environment, when you're in a Muslim land, especially a land like Saudi Arabia, that those things you're not even tested like that. You're not even put in a predicament when everyone around you is basically calling is on Tawheed. The government's on Tawheed. It's in the schools. It's in your face. Everywhere you go, they're calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, masajid, durus, mashayikh, sunnah, everywhere. But then when you come to the land of disbelief, I think about a couple of my last jobs. So not my last, I was working in a prison. I'm going to give you an example. And I recall once it was something so simple. So we were going, because I was an educator in the prison system. And me as the part of the education department, and then there was other people who were in the admin, and the what do you call him? He's a father. What do you call him? He is not a priest. And he's not a preacher, but he was the chaplain. He was the chaplain. So the chaplain, he came, of course. Everybody was called to go. We had to go to this meeting, and then we had to do this. We had to participate. All departments had to go for it was like a charity walk kind of thing. So we all go. So when we get around and they start explaining the situation, all of a sudden, the warden says, "Chaplain so-and-so, can you lead us in prayer?" And I'm just sitting there, a person of bi'idhnillah ta'ala tawheed, calling the tawheed, all of my experience, all of the immersion I've had with kitab wa sunnah and living that life in Yemen and Saudi, all of a sudden I'm immersed in a shirkiyat prayer. It's on me, it's around me. So all I can do is turn away and try to get away from it and look like the one oddball. There were some other people who weren't praying. Maybe they don't believe in God at all anymore. But most of them were all involved in the prayer. The chaplain caught me off guard. Boom. Oh, let me lead you guys in a prayer. Bam. Next thing you know, he was praying. And everybody's bowing their head. And I'm like, la hawla. And all I could do is make dhikr to Allah and make the dua that of shirk. And so these are the kind of predicaments you can find yourself. So don't think that it's always easy to escape shirk, or that shirk is not going to trap you and surround you. You maybe go to your family's house and it's an innocent gathering, and all of a sudden your mother, your beloved mother, or your father if your father is living, or your grandmother if your grandmother's living, and they bust out in prayer. What happens? What do you do? So these are real scenarios and real situations which we face when we live in a non-Muslim society and we're immersed. I find that in my current job, all kind of situations, okay, they had the Christmas celebrations, they had this, they have this. And so you're tested and you're assaulted in a sense, because when you come from kind of a pure Tawheed environment, it's like an assault on your senses and your spirit, your soul. You feel it, you feel crunchy, you're scared. You're running from shirk. It's like around you. What? So this is why it's so important to always seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Learn the du'as. For example, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika wa ana a'lamu wa astaghfiruka liman a'lamu. Which means, oh Allah, verily, I seek refuge in you from shirk that I did knowingly and that which I have done unknowingly. And I wastaghfiruka, and I seek forgiveness from you. So that is a very important protection and a way of expiation for shirk. So you have to have means of combating it. It really truly is. And when I was younger and in those situations, you didn't realize it. But in fact, Yemen was a big training, I don't want to use the wrong word, training camp. No, it wasn't a training camp, but it was a madrasa in a sense, in that it was like a bubble, especially, I won't say Yemen, but I'll say Damaj, those kind of places. You're like on another planet. The reality there is so different than even in other cities in Yemen. Damaj is not like Sana'a, the capital, and it's not like Aden, and it's not like Shehr, and it's not like Hadramaut in general, or Mukalla. La, it's very different. You are in a very controlled environment. At the time, Imam Muqbil, rahmatullah alayhi, was alive, and Sheikh Yahya was doing a lot of the durus, and other mashayikh, and you never saw women. It was so very different from what your reality is in most places in the planet Earth. Okay? And then living in Saudi, also a very different reality. So it can be a bubble. And I don't want to get off too much on a tangent, but when you are in that, and then you come back to what we have to deal with in the reality of being a Muslim minority, you find that you're challenged much more in your faith and with the concept of shirk. So always seek refuge in Allah from shirk. Train yourself constantly. It's not just learning something and learning some principles and that's it. No, it's practice and it's constant. Naam. Then he mentioned Sheikh Zeno. He mentions the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Man laki Allah yushriku bihi shay'an dakhala an-nar." Ruwahu Muslim. So this is further dalil to support those even on minor shirk. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, and whoever meets Allah associating anything with him will enter the hellfire. And this is in Sahih Muslim. So this shows us how serious shirk is. And that we need to beware of shirk in all of its manifestations. And we need to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from any and all forms of shirk, in any and all forms of kufr, and those things which can destroy us. Oh Allah, please protect us and preserve us. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. The Sheikh mentions the next point. He says, are good deeds of any benefit to one who worships others besides Allah? So the next mas'ala, he says, no, la. Good deeds are of no benefit to those who worship others besides Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says concerning the prophets, alayhim afdal salatu wasalam, walau ashraku lihabita anhum ma kanu ya'malun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but if they had joined in worship others with Allah, all that they used to do would have been of no benefit for them. Look at this, ahabati fillah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the prophets, alayhim afdal salatu wasalam, and this was a warning for them, salawatu rabbi wa salamuhu alayhi, then what about us? How much should we be warned, and how careful should we be, and how cautious should we be when it comes to shirk and kufr and going off the path? So it's very important to protect yourself with an ilm al-nafi', and your practice. Ilm wa amal. Ilm wa amal. Knowledge and practice. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned in the hadith al-Qudsi, we've mentioned it many times, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أنا أغنى شركاء عن الشرك من عمل عملا أشرك معي فيه غيري تركته وشركه. And this is a hadith Qudsi, Ruwahu Sahih Muslim. So this hadith is a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I have no need of partners. Whoever does any deed in which he associates partners with me, I reject him and his shirk. Now, so here it shows us that shirk is rejected. And this is one of the many reasons. Okay, I know you don't like me to talk about Yasir Qadhi. I can't help it. I don't know why it just always comes up. But the reason I have mentioned him more recently is for this reason, because you cannot even begin to open those doors of shirk. And what I mean by that is if he now has changed his position, okay, after years of calling to something different, And of course, we already know the level, his ulama and those people who hold these kind of positions. Mostly Ahl Tasawwuf, okay? Meaning extreme Sufis mostly. And they claim that shirk, that making dua to a dead man, dead woman, dead saint, whatever, is not shirk. Okay? That it is a wicked munkar. And that's because of the division of dua into dua mas'ala with dua ibadah. And I don't want to go all into those things right now, but this is a crime in a sense, because this belittles the concept of shirk, and it belittles and distorts the concept of worship, and then that is articulated to the people, and then the people become confused, and the youth are confused, and the people who do commit shirk like that will say, well, at the worst I'm doing is a type of munkar. You know, even though I'm calling Abdul Qadir Jailani, and I'm calling the sheikh of my Pushtu village, and I'm calling the sheikh of the Kabila, you know, the sheikh of my tribe in Somalia or whatever. But all of it is shirk. And that's why we cannot distort and play with those meanings and give the people a way out. Meaning a way out to dalal. Now, so the issue of shirk is so serious. This is why Sheikh Muhammad, he mentions, meaning Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, وَأَعْظَمَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ التَّوْحِيدُ. He says the greatest thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us with is tawheed, is Islamic monotheism. وَأَعْظَمَ مَا نَهَى عَنْهُ وَالشِّرْكِ. And the most severe thing that he warned us against is polytheism. May Allah protect us all from it. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Then the Shaykh, he goes on in his next lesson, he goes on to minor shirk. He says minor shirk, shirk al-asgar. What is shirk al-asgar? Minor shirk is to worship Allah so as to be seen by others. Allah says, فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّي فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so whoever hopes for the meeting with his Lord, let him work righteousness and associate excuse me and associate none as a partner in worship with his Lord. So there it is. Work righteous deeds. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with sincerity. With ikhlas. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inna akhwafa ma akhafa alaykum ash-shirk al-asghar fasu'ila anhu faqal ar-riya. And this is in Sahih Ruwahu Ahmed. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, as is mentioned in Musnad Imam Ahmed, what I fear most for you is shirk al-asghar, ar-riya. Okay? And ar-riya, ahabati fillah, is to be seen by others. It's like showing off. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions في كتاب الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون. What do? They do it to be seen. الذين هم يراءون those who do these deeds and these actions and this worship and this prayer to show off in front of the people. And so it's a great and grave danger. And it's something we all have to be aware of constantly, not like one time. Not like, oh yeah, I should have been aware of that a month ago. No, it's always. You have to do it every time. Every time. And I especially say those who are doing dawah. Okay? Sheikhs, scholars, students of knowledge, du'at, absolutely even more. Why? Because you have more opportunities to show off. So we always have to constantly work on this, constantly go to war with it. And even in the middle of actions, you have to make sure you're not showing off. You don't want your deeds destroyed. So that means during the khutbah. That means before the khutbah. It means during prayer. It means when you're giving a lecture. It means when you're, on and on. There are so many challenges, so much so that the shaitan can whisper to you and make you not want to do dawah for that reason. Khalas, I don't want to have anything to do with shirk. I don't want to show off. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to call to the book of Allah. And I'm not going to call to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Limada? Why? Because of the deception of the shaitan. So that's another way the shaitan can deceive you to get you to stop doing dawah, to stop doing the whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you to do, and calling the people and using what Allah has given you as skills and ability to deliver the message. You don't want to stop that for the shaitan, because those of us who had that experience of jahiliyyah, if you will, or before Islam, we weren't going to stop when we were on the microphone on stage. No, we weren't going to stop. So now we're in Islam, so we need to continue to call to the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But now we have a big, scary restriction, because we are restricted by ikhlas. We're restricted by ikhlas. We have to be sincere. And that is a scary thing. So it's a constant combat for all of us. Jihad and nafs. Have the jihad and nafs. If you want to know what jihad and nafs is, that's a part of jihad and nafs. You're fighting yourself. You're fighting yourself so you don't show off, so you don't go astray, so you don't commit shirk. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith we mentioned, Ruahu Ahmed, أخوف ما خاف عليكم الشرك الأصغر فسئل عنه فقال الرياء. That's another narration of the same hadith. That the Prophet ﷺ said, أخوف ما خاف عليكم الشرك الأصغر. The thing that I fear the most for you, meaning my ummah, is shirk al-asghar, the minor shirk. فسئل عنه. Then he was asked about it. فقال الرياء. He said it's showing off. So the Sheikh is talking about the dangers of riyah and the shirk al-asghar. Included in shirk al-asghar is a saying, were it not for so-and-so, it is Allah and so-and-so's will. Okay? Those are alfadh shirkiyah. Those are the minor shirk. You want to avoid that. So one of the things that I have learned from the Arabs, and I guess maybe the mashayikh more so, is saying, instead of mashallah wa fulan, it's what Allah willed and so and my teacher, for example. No. Instead, you should say, well, actually, it's from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mashallah, thumma, then so-and-so, because so-and-so couldn't have done it, couldn't have helped you, couldn't have given you the money, couldn't have supported you, couldn't have got you married, couldn't have get you books, whatever the case may be. They couldn't have did any of that without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Muslim makes tafweed here. Tafweed limada? Tafweed in Aqidah? No. In the Sifat of Allah? No. Not like Ahl Batil. No. They make tafweed amurihim. They leave their affairs with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is a high level of iman. That is a part of tawakkul ala Allah. That is a part of putting your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to get off topic. Sometimes I do. That's just how I am. So you have to bring me back. If we were live, you could bring me back. Maybe, maybe not. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and this is the hadith we were just mentioning, do not say it is the will of Allah and so. Rather say it is the will of Allah and then because of so. And this is a hadith in Musnad Imam Ahmed. The next mas'ala he brings up, he says, is it permitted to swear by other than Allah, to swear by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name? So the answer is no, it is not permitted to swear by other than Allah, by another name besides Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Qul bala wa rabbi litub'athunna. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say, yes, by my Lord you will certainly be resurrected. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so what's the wajh dalala here? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, yes, say yes, by my Lord. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to do what? To swear by Allah only. Okay, we don't swear by the Prophet, we don't swear by our clothing, we don't swear, put it on my mama, we don't do any of that. Not in Islam. Because that is a form of the minor shirk. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man halafa bi ghayri Allah faqad ashrak. And this is in Sahih Ruahu Imam Ahmed. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever swears by anyone other than Allah has associated partners with Allah. And this is also in Ahmed. And the Prophet ﷺ also said, Man kana halifan falyahlif billah or liyasmut. And this is a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever must take an oath should swear by Allah or keep silent. And this is Bukhari and Muslim. So swearing by the prophets or saints is a major form of shirk. If one believes that the saint has the power to harm him, so we should refrain from taking such an oath, as this too is a major sin resulting in severe punishment. So if there's that i'tiqad there, then this becomes the major shirk. But if someone says, for example, in my culture from Jahiliyyah, and especially in generally African American culture, in the way before Islam, that and other cultures have adopted it. When people they swear on their mom. He said, I put that on my mama like this. You'll see that in movies and stuff like that. And this is a type of shirk. And if there is a type of i'tiqad in that, that you believe that, the swearing or making an oath by your mother, when you believe this, then, it could go to shirk al-akbar, the major shirk. So this shows how serious it is, and leaving those ways, the ways of ignorance, the ways of jahiliyyah, the ways prior to Islam, which contradict Islam. Okay? The next point the Sheikh mentions, he says, should we wear good luck charms like thread or a ring, believing that they have healing powers? He says, no, we should not wear them, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which means, and if Allah touches you with harm, none can remove it but Him. Hudayfa radiallahu ta'ala saw a man wearing a thread around the hand, around his hand, to cure fever. So he cut the thread, reciting the words of Allah, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. So Hudayfa, he cut the string from the man's hand. And he then quoted the ayah, and most of them believe not in Allah except that they attribute partners, except that they attribute partners to Allah, meaning that this is shirk. So it's very important to be cautious, be aware, and beware of any and all forms of shirk, and believing and putting our faith and our hope in any items or any trinkets or charms. We don't have good luck charms and all of this thing, and we don't believe in good luck and bad luck in Islam. Rather, we believe in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the divine decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And depending on the level of your iman is how you're going to deal with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning your acceptance of it or your lack thereof. May Allah bless us to accept his decree and be happy with it. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. The next point the Shaykh he mentions, he says, should we attach beads or shells to our clothing to protect us from the evil eye? No, we should not do that for protection from the evil eye. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُوَ. And if Allah touches you with harm, none can remove it but him. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, مَنْ عَلَقَ تَمِيمَةً فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in Sahih Musnad Imam Ahmed, he said, whoever wears an amulet has committed shirk. Ruwahu Ahmed. So an amulet is any object worn, again, with what? With i'tiqad. So if you just had a chain on, that's not an amulet. If you have no i'tiqad with it, it's a thing of ornament or decoration or what have you. But an amulet, any object worn in the belief that it provides spiritual protection, either that it protects you from harm or it brings you good. And we know so much in our society. So many people take that lightly. It's in mainstream culture in America, especially. Okay, those cultures of having the rabbit's foot. Okay, I was just thinking as I'm talking, thinking about, well, probably this came from Ireland, the Lucky Charms. Okay, we have a cereal, Lucky Charms. So what? And it's all about a lucky charm, that you have some item that is to give you some sort of protection, or it's supposed to give you some sort of good. And so many cultures and so many mushrik traditions from around the planet Earth. I mean, every continent, every culture probably has some sort of tradition like that, okay, where they believed in some sort of charms. If you were to interview some Bambooty Pygmies, they probably did it. Native American, they would do it. Many European, the Vikings, people who want to follow those paganistic traditions, they do it. All the cultures, everyone does it. Unfortunately, so much kufr, so much shirk, and it's so entrenched everywhere. May Allah protect us from any and all forms of shirk. Ameen. The next mas'ala, I wonder, should we continue? It's actually a long one. And maybe we'll stop there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil. Protect us from kulli su' wa makruh. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And until our next lesson, inshallah ta'ala, if there's any questions, we will take them. And one of the things I want to mention also, when seeking knowledge, never be shy about studying a book that might be easy, like this book. This book is so beneficial, and I'm realizing the benefit as we're going through it. I've taught this book many times over the years, and this time it's having more impact upon me, and I'm really seeing what a very beneficial book in Aqidah this is. And it's so short in its thing. I taught this to the brothers in the prison. I don't remember if we finished it. I don't think we did, but because we couldn't really have. I got them a copy. They did have a copy, and I think we did some of it, a very little bit, I think. But this would have been so beneficial for them. This would have been so beneficial. SubhanAllah. This book is very important for all levels of Muslims. All levels of Muslims. And so never be shy about saying, oh, well, I studied that with Ustad so-and-so. I'm not going to study this with I studied Usul al-Thalatha. How many times have I studied Usul al-Thalatha with students of knowledge and with ulama? Okay? Many different ulama and many different students of knowledge, sometimes just for revising. So that is very important with ilm. And you will find so many different benefits from different mashayikh and their different issues they bring up in masail or their ways of teaching and things like this, and the fawaid they bring. So never be shy about that. And especially, I'll say, if you have the chance to go overseas and study with the ulama, don't even say, Fuzan's he's teaching Usul al-Thalatha. I don't know, I've done it so many times. No, go and benefit. Sheikh so-and-so in my local masjid is teaching Kitab al-Tawheed. Get in there. Those are the benefits and the blessings, and you get a chance to make muraja, and you learn new issues. I promise you, so many times I've sat in different durus, and the more you go through this, and like I said, us going through this now, I just benefited a lot more, and it was helping me, and it was relevant to other things I'm studying right now or making revision and want to start writing about. This book is so concise but so beneficial. So I highly advise you to get this book. I got it from Dar es Salaam for $7. The Islamic Creed based on the Quran and the Sunnah by Sheikh Mohammed bin Jamil Azino. Very, very beneficial. So we'll continue and we'll finish. Right now we're on page 41, and there's some big issues coming up. There's about 20 pages left. So you could say we're basically a third of the way. Or what, 20 pages left. We're 2/3 of the way. And now I'm very beneficial. Very beneficial. I'm very glad, and I want to give it its right. This last couple lessons, give it its right, because there's some very important issues coming up now that we will need to talk about. Very good. This book is good. It's so concise. He just gives you a little dalil. He's not giving you a lot of details, but this is an excellent way to get introduced to a lot of these issues. And if you ground yourself in this, something like this, when you study Usul al-Thalatha, when you study Qawaid al-Arba and others, it'll give you a different tasawwur, and you'll be, ready even more so, because this book is sort of like, but in a different form, some of the basics of Kitab al-Tawheed. Kitab al-Tawheed is going to be more extensive, but this gives you what you need. This is the juice right here, really. So, mashallah, tabarakallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the Shaykh immensely for writing such a beneficial treatise. Naam. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naam. Do you mean you made the dua in that situation, not of shirk, but subhanallah, not of shirk, but of a dua done while shirk is happening? Naam, just to be protected, because you're in that situation. You're hearing them worship Isa, and you are present. And so, naam, I made a dua just as a protection, and, really seeking forgiveness, because in the last part of the dua, wastaghfiruka lima Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika wa ana a'lamu wastaghfiruka lima la a'lamu. And I seek forgiveness from you from that which I do unknowingly. Maybe somehow I'm getting, falling into shirk, or just witnessing it, just as a protection, because you're witnessing shirk khalis. You're like in the mix. You can't escape it. They're making dua and they've surrounded you. Everybody's bowing their head and you're the only one, like, subhanallah. So now, may Allah protect us, I mean. Now, so yeah, I made dhikr. It's just a protection, and it's a seeking forgiveness. It's a seeking forgiveness for shirk, or being in any way. This is a protection because this is very relevant, because shirk is like in your midst, and there's nothing you can do as far as Amr bil Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar except for hate it in your heart. So this is just a way of seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any weaknesses and any and all forms of shirk and what you're witnessing of shirk. Naam. Naam. Alladhina hum yara'un. Constantly we have to battle our nafs, no doubt. Exactly. And so common in our society, knock on wood, cross your fingers. This is a big one. Cross your fingers, or people will actually, they'll say something and you'll see it on, a lot of times you might be watching a podcast or something, and then they're talking about it, and he says, knock on wood, and this is the shirk, this is something impermissible for a Muslim, but this is what's common and taken light with many non-Muslims, Wallah musta'an. A lot of comments, so I don't know. Why, when the ruler says Merry Christmas, is not shirk, but when a normal guy says it is shirk? I've never heard that, and I don't think there's any exclusion. There's no exclusion on your position if you're a ruler or you're the common person of someone saying shirk. Naam. If someone says something which is shirk, a form of shirk, or praising the people of shirk, because Christmas is obviously, it's a well-known holiday based on shirk. It's built on shirk. It comes from shirk. Someone saying Merry Christmas, they are participating in, there's like musharaka, a sharing in the, it's a greeting, sharing in the holiday. Maybe their intention is not that they mean it from a polite point of view. This is muharram, it's impermissible. Is it shirk itself? Allahu alam. Because if there's no aqidah there's no i'tiqad. And this is a well-known shirky festival. Allahu alam. Allahu alam. If someone does this, they say this, we know this is muharram, it's impermissible. To say they committed shirk, I believe, and Allah knows best, that this would be based upon their qasd, on their intention. Someone might say it, at their job, Merry Christmas to you too. Okay? This is haram. It's impermissible. Is that shirk? No, I don't think it's shirk, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But if they believe, obviously, that this holiday, believe in anything from their creed with regards to, the aspects of Christmas and so forth, the shirkiyat, then of course this is shirk. So Allah knows best. Allah knows best. Greeting someone with regards to that, returning the greeting. Oh, Merry Christmas to you too. Allah musta'an. Naam. But to go back to your general thing, if regardless of whether the leader commits it or the common person commits an act of shirk, if something is referred to as exactly shirk, then If something is actually shirk in reality, then of course it doesn't matter who does it. Okay, it doesn't matter who does it, except in the situation of as far as someone being excused. So, for example, the scholars mention Imam Nawawi. He mentions this also, I think, in his book Rodat Talibin in the Bab Ridda. But anyway, about the if someone is like a new Muslim, for example, and they fall into an act of shirk, it's not like the one who knows better and they've grown up in a society where the knowledge is there and they've had that opportunity. So the hukum with regards to that one and that one, you would teach them, but it isn't the same as far as the person because of the excuse. He's new to Islam, so someone he becomes Muslim. Still, it's haram. It's still impermissible, and that's why you teach them. But they wouldn't be dealt with in the same light. And this is what the scholars talk about in the issue of udhr bi jahil, the excuse of ignorance. And a lot of times they mention, especially like the new Muslim, the one who just reverted to Islam, or the community, they just came to Islam and no one's been there to teach them. It's not, it's very different than someone who grows up in Saudi Arabia, for example, or they grow up in a place where Islam is widespread and the knowledge is widespread and their exposure to knowledge is widespread, and what is halal and what's haram and what's shirk and what's not. So, naam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. May Allah protect us all. Ameen. Is it valid when people say that you watch a video with background music? It is not bad because it is not the main purpose intended aspect, even though one should practice restraint. Is it valid when people say that if you watch a video with background music, it is not bad? So I think I don't know about anyone who says that it's not bad, because you can't say, yes, that's not your intention. But if you have a means of blocking that out and being away from that which is muharram, then you should do so. Okay? As far as that, my intention wasn't there to listen to the news. I just think the reality of the way, unfortunately, that most of us practice is that because of commercials and stuff like this, or whatever, you're listening to the news, that you can't escape it. So at one point or another, you begin to abandon those practices. So one thing I will say, for example, when I was younger and fresh out of Yemen, for example, in Yemen, it was a big deal. So a commercial, and every single, the Salafees in Yemen, especially in those times, every bottle that you got, a drinking water, so if it has a picture, we would all, it was like a big deal to deface the water that you're drinking out of. If it was a soda pop or whatever, you're spending that time. The cookies, it's got to be scribbled out. So Allah knows best what we're required to do. I think over time, most of us, especially if you're not in that kind of environment, you're overwhelmed. So you begin to abandon those practices. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. As far as, though, listening to haram, haram is haram. Khalas. It's not going to necessarily be your intention. Now, if you heard it because someone comes by and they're listening to music or whatever, and you hear that, and there's nothing you can do about it, or you do about it. That if it's out of your control, it's out of your control. And again, a part of commanding the good and forbidding the evil is disliking it in your heart. So Allah knows best. Are we required every commercial, every time we hear, you're listening to podcasts about MMA and they start with music and then all of a sudden they play music in the middle of the podcast, or, whatever you listen to, whatever you enjoy, that is something maybe that's mubah. And then Allah knows best to what extent, we should be, vigilant in trying to avoid that. And that's just in general. You fear Allah as much as possible. I don't know how practical that is. Every time you see a water bottle and a juice and a wrapper and a candy, you buy some Kit Kats or, whatever candy and stuff, and you're spending time scribbling every picture and everything like this. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. I don't think we're required to do that. And Allah knows best. No. But you just try to control your environment and fear Allah as much as you can. That's really, really what it comes down to. May Allah protect us and forgive us. Ameen. Ameen. Are you familiar with Rashid ibn Estes Barbi? Absolutely, I'm familiar with Rashid, Sheikh Rashid, Hafidhullah Ta'ala. We were once friends. We haven't talked to each other in a couple years now. But usually what was interesting is almost every year he would give me an email or we would make some sort of contact. He visited me in Medina. I mean, that was a long time ago. That was the last time I saw him in Medina. We had some very good conversations. He visited myself, and at that time, Shadid Muhammad was myself, Shadid Muhammad, and the Sheikh was there as well. And Nam, I know him very well. We were in Yemen together at the same time. We were neighbors. We know the same people, had the same circles. I mean, we lived in Yemen together up in Damaj for, I'm not sure how long he was there. He might have been there for maybe a couple of years. I know he was there at least a year or more, and I was only there for a few months. So, yeah, I know him very well. I've known him for a long time. May Allah preserve him, because I know he's doing a lot of good work and a lot of good translations and a lot of, mashallah, good dawah. May Allah preserve us in him, forgive us in him, and guide us in him. I mean, now, hope that reminds me, maybe I bet he still has the same email, and I'll hit him on Yahoo. So you reminded me. That's a good thing. May Allah bless us in him. I mean, but yeah, we generally have had good ties, good over the years. Restraint. I don't know if I missed, because there's so many comments, I don't know if I missed any questions, but is it valid when people say that if you watch... Okay, that's the same one. And going through books multiple times. Yep, definitely. Are you familiar? Yep. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's your email address, please? My email address, I think you can get it right there on the YouTube. But anyway, it's greenkhalid@gmail.com. Greenkhalid, Khalid, @gmail.com. Naam. Do the conditions and preventative factors for takfir apply to tabdi', likewise labeling someone a fasiq? So this is also a very controversial thing, which I would say, it seems to me in my studies that there's a difference of opinion between scholars of Ahlul Sunnah. Some of the scholars, they mention that there is that the conditions are the same, and they say, why? لِعَدَمَ دَلِيلِ التَّفْرِيق. So they say the reason why there are those conditions in place is because there is no there's no evidence to suggest or to support making a difference between those types of hukum, the hukum of takfir and the hukum of tabdi' and the hukum of tafsiq. And one of the things the scholars are in agreement of, meaning the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, is that those are all ahkam shari'i. Those are all sharia-based rulings, so they're not things that the layperson should be involved in. Sheikh Fawzan, Imam Fawzan, has some beautiful speech about that. I've translated it many times. It's, I'm sure, on the internet. I've done videos. It's in my research. I did that for my PhD. And so that so it's an excellent question. It's really a mas'ala that's a big mas'ala and a big research. I think a lot of the scholars they don't practice that for one, as far as the conditions like that. But as I said, some of the scholars mention that there really is no dalil, there's no evidence to suggest and to make a difference between those ahkam. So how are you going to say those are all sharia masail, and then you're going to have these conditions for takfir and the mu'an, the prohibitors of takfir and so forth, which come from the book and the sunnah and the understanding of the salaf, but then to distinguish that between the issue of tibdi' and tafsiq when there are so many similarities, and Allah knows best. Allah knows best. But usually you do not hear the extensive same type of investigation and rigid criterion when making tibdi' of people or tafsiq, you know. But tafsiq is very serious. So one of the things is a benefit of being in a Muslim land is you can't just speak you know, especially if they're trying to make tatbiq of the Sharia. But even in the lands that have gotten far away from the Sharia and many things, you would probably get in a lot of trouble. Someone could get you in a lot of trouble in Egypt or wherever, take you to the mahkamah, the Sharia mahkamah, and get you in trouble if you speak about someone in a ill matter. You know, it could be slander, just like some of our mashayikh. One particular sheikh was whipped for that, and another sheikh was threatened with that. And you know, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi could have had that in the case of Sheikh Ibrahim Raheli, hafidhallahu ta'ala. So they're very important, and it shows us not to take these things lightly, that we should not rush to speak ill about anyone, and especially someone from Ahl Sunnah. But in general, we should not be vigilant in that. We should only speak with the truth. That doesn't mean we allow the people of innovation and bid'ah and mistakes to go unspoken about. No, that's not at all what we're saying. What we're saying is we have to be very cautious to make sure we have the balance that's based on justice, that when you speak about someone, there's a Sharia maqsad, there's a Sharia based intent, and, you know, something that is permissible with the Shara. You know, speaking against Ahl Bidah, this is permissible in the Sharia, but most of the general Muslims don't know this. This is why so many people became so upset when I mentioned Yasser Qadi, or if I just put his name in the title of a video, then they just lose their hair and everything. And this is due to emotion and a lack of knowledge of the Islamic Sharia, basically. That to know even some of those great imams that they would respect and know, they would know that they have, if you read Riyadh al-Salihin, which all of us read something from it or have heard something from it, probably haven't read all of it, most of the people, but they would see Imam an-Nawawi has a chapter, Bab ma yubah fil ghiba, or something similar to this, the chapter of what's permissible of ghiba. And then he's talking about the whole issue or science of criticizing the people of bid'ah and people for mistakes, and even people for sinfulness, and even warning people about so we have to know the Sharia is balanced, and there's no ifrat with tafrit. There's no one extreme or another. We don't throw away principles, and we don't go extreme and go beyond principles. So meaning ghiba, we know, is impermissible, haram, major sin. There are times, though, for those who study the Sharia, who understand these principles, who understand the nusus, to know that that is not at all under all circumstances. Let's give you an example that's very practical for all of us. Aside from a mubtadi'ah, what about the person? So you hear about someone, they want to get married. Oh, here's a brother. He comes to our community. Sister so-and-so needs to get married. And this brother, it comes to you, you know knowledge about him. He's married 217 women, divorced them all. He has 9,742 kids. Doesn't pay for them, doesn't take care of them. He has a history of beating at least 20% of those women. Okay, and you know these things. Do you say, no, it's impermissible, I don't want to harm the brother's reputation, who's already destroyed his reputation, and he's going to marry one of our sisters? No, of course, she needs to know the information of who she may be, who this potential suitor is. So this is one of the things, one of the issues that Imam An-Nawawi speaks about, and you can find it in Riyadh al-Salihin. Go ahead and open up your English translation right now, and you'll find that bab, and he mentions about that in the chapter of what's permissible from ghiba, okay? And he mentions the different circumstances, such as mubtadi'ah, such as, in the situation of marriage and things like that. There are times, or even going to the Islamic courts and judge. Well, you may have to speak about another Muslim related to a crime. Yes, judge, he did do that. Yes, judge, he did speak ill about him, or between the husband and wife. Yes, judge, he does beat me. Yes, judge, she does throw knives at me and tried to burn the house down and threw the children out the window. So these kind of things have to be, there are times, it's not under all circumstances that you would not speak about another Muslim or what have you. No. So it's very important. I don't even know why I got off on that tangent. I apologize. I don't even know what the question was, but hopefully I answered something that was, that there was benefit to it. Now, Subhanallah. May Allah forgive us and guide us. I mean, okay, a lot of comments and going back and forth, so I don't know. It makes it hard for me to find if there's questions. I used to Hajj, blah, blah, blah. How to respond? How do the condition? Okay. How to respond to non-Muslims telling us Merry Christmas or any other holiday. I'm not sure what the correct response, and I believe maybe Shaykh al-Islam, there might be some fatwa about this, and no doubt many of our scholars have been asked these questions on how to deal. We know that it's impermissible, so a lot of times if I'm in that type of situation, I just say, they know that I don't celebrate Christmas. Sometimes they're good about not involving in this, not saying that. I just issue a politeness, thank you, whatever. I don't say you have a Merry Christmas to have that, to greet them in their holiday. Because you do have to navigate in these situations. You can't be at work and say, okay, so you don't celebrate, you've already made that known, you're not participating in stuff, and they say their cuss is something nice and good, but you can't say to your boss, be quiet, don't say that to me, or something like this, or you're just silent, and you walk by, and they, so there is a way to not, to kind of navigate and not share in that. Don't say Merry Christmas to you too, just say thank you or something like this, and keep it pushing, and Allah knows best. That is a very touchy and a very tough thing that we actually end up having to practice in a non-Muslim environment. You can only say, if 20 people in your workspace, they keep coming to you, you can only say, I'm a Muslim, I don't celebrate Christmas, I'm a Muslim, I don't, it's just within a 5-minute span, So, Naam, may Allah help us and protect us. I mean, Wa-alaikum barakatuh. Like Mary Shirk, A'udhu Billah, Hujjah has to be established though, can apply general rules upon it. I use AI to remove background music. You can remove them from documentaries, for example. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know anything like that. With CapCut app, for example. So yeah, that's a good to know. So if you have, I guess you can use AI as one of our brothers or sisters mentions, as Salafee Onyx mentions, that you can remove the AI. With AI, you can remove the background music in like a documentary. So I guess maybe you cut, or I don't know, you paste it in off of YouTube or wherever you're watching the documentary, maybe in the CapCut app. So you can look that up for anyone who's interested in trying to navigate that. Is it permissible to go on one live chat session with strangers website like Omega for dawah purpose or to warn against munkar? I mean, if you're observing Islamic Sharia tenets, so not you going on a one-on-one, you're giving dawah to all the women in the in the town, in your cyber town or whatever, and you're giving them all dawah. No, you shouldn't be going on one-on-one in, especially if it's like a dating app or something like this. No, you shouldn't be doing that. But if you are actually dealing with Sharia compliant environment, for example, you're a man and you're calling other men or whoever to Islam, then alhamdulillah, this is khair. So you want to use it. Al-wasail laha ahkam al-maqasid. Al-wasail laha ahkam al-maqasid, which means part of the means takes the ruling of the ends. Of course, it has to be a Sharia compliant or a mubah, something permissible as a means. Okay? So that qaida is a very important principle for us. But we have to understand it properly. We have to make sure that we don't take it just in general to say the means justify the ends. That's why I always have to think when I try to translate that. Because that is not ala itlaq, in totality, under all circumstances. For example, as a sect or as a group, you would say something like Akhwan Muslimin, for example. For them, that is very commensurate with their jama'ah, with their methodology. Because for them, any means that's going to be a spread of dawah, we all want to spread dawah. But I cannot spread dawah by saying, hey, Khalid Green's about to get on the mic again. Let me get the keyboard, or let me get you wouldn't even need a keyboard now. You could use especially with a Mac, you could, probably do your whole studio. And let me start producing dawah music, okay? No, we can't do that. But that would be more in line with an Ikhwani methodology. Why? Because for them, the means can be an impermissible means to get to a good end, to get to a good objective. So we have to put qiyud, we have to put restrictions on that qaida. Al-wasail laha ahkam al-maqasid. This is talking about using something which is normally mubah. For example, I had an apple, I don't have anymore, but eating an apple is mubah. If I use that apple for a Sharia-based means to do some good, for example, I go out with this apple and I give it to a person who's in need, okay? It's normally mubah, but now it is a means to a righteous ends, and it was a permissible means to a righteous end, okay? So, al-wasail laha ahkam al-maqasid, another surah of that, another example might be, and I recall one of the mashayikh, he was telling us about this as an example. So, for example, you go, they get a ladder. A ladder is normally, it's mubah, it's permissible, okay, to use a ladder. You can go up and down, build your roof, whatever. So this person gets a ladder and they are going to rob someone's house. But the ladder is too short. So they get up under the window and they leave it. They say, khalas, this is not going to work. I'm packing up my ladder. I'm going to go home. They will not be rewarded by Allah for good for not doing that wicked deed of robbing the people. Why? Because the only reason they left the sin was because of adam al-qudra. They didn't have the ability to do it. Okay? But if they put that ladder and they said, wait a minute, this is a mean, it's mubah. I'm going to use it for helping save old ladies that are burning in the building, whatever. They're using it for a good means. It's a mubah normally. Now you're using it for something good. It takes the ruling of that end. So it means you're getting reward for using a ladder, which is normally something you wouldn't get a reward. It's mubah. It's permissible. There's no hukum attached to it. A better example might be a car. You use a car to go to the nightclub, and you go clubbing, and you go kick it, and you're doing this, or do a drive-by. Well, you're getting a sin as soon as you get in that car because your qasd is to go to the club. Aslan, that's where you're going. This is mubah, this vehicle. Now you fill it up with gas. Everything, every step of the way is contributing to your sin. So it becomes a sinful means. Al-wasa'il laha ahkam al-maqasid. But if you're filling that same vehicle up because you want to go to the masjid and there's a lecture on the other side of town in Croydon or in Birmingham or in Bellevue or in Hull, England or in Seattle, Washington, and you fill that car up and you're getting ready to drive and you are going fi sabilillah to go benefit, then al-wasa'il laha ahkam al-maqasid, that this means is now, it's normally mubah, you're getting ajr for filling up that car and going to do good. And a lot of people ask about getting swole, lifting weights and stuff. So if your intention really is to truly do good deeds, then bi'idhnillah ta'ala, you'll be rewarded for that strong body that you're trying to do good. You want to be strong and healthy because you want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better. You don't want to sit in a chair. You want to be able to carry chairs. You want to be able to do, things that require your strength. And you want to be healthy, and so you're eating healthy. Then these means, they become a part, you get a ruling with that ends. Okay? Inshallah ta'ala, hopefully that's clear. And I know I went off on a tangent again, but since I don't have to work or anything, I'm just feeling a little bit more free-flowing and just kind of going with the flow. Is it permissible? What is that? How the hijab, we see speaker's corner, da 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 da. So I see a lot of comments. It's hard to get to the things. So some of these things I might miss, but we'll just try to get to some of the questions. Can we see speaker's corner people like Muhammad hijab within Ahl Sunnah but with many mistakes? Oh, can we say, I think you want to say, can we say speaker's corner people like Muhammad hijab is within Ahl Sunnah but it has many mistakes? So I don't know a whole lot about Muhammad hijab. I know enough to know that no, he's not from Ahl Sunnah. He is, I don't know if he's Ashari. I don't know enough about his Aqidah, but I think it would be better to ask those people who know more details about him. I know he's a celebrity caller, but the point is, when it comes to someone being from Ahl Sunnah or not being from Ahl Sunnah, it has to do with their usul al-i'tiqad. What is their foundation in creed? Are they negating certain masail in either creed or methodology, meaning manhaj, that take them off the sunnah? So someone can have muwafaqa in many issues of Ahl Sunnah, and so many groups do. I would say not sects, but groups do. Many contemporary groups. For example, we have what is referred to as Sururiya. We have referred to Hadadiyya. We have this one and that one. Okay, so many of these groups are groups that have many issues in common with Ahl Sunnah. Like they're not Ashari, they're not, some of the big usul mukhalafat, but they have mukhalafat in certain usul. For example, maybe in the issue of takfir. For example, sururis in general, they have, you will see, they have sort of there's an alaka with takfir, that they have almost like blended their methodology, a Salafi methodology with Ikhwani methodology. They've made a blend and win, okay? And that's why in issues of takfir, even the way they speak about the scholars and so forth, you'll see this manifested on their tongues. This takes them from being from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. They are not representatives of the Salafi da'wah, of da'wah to Ahl Sunnah. And likewise, others, for example, well, I don't need to name names, but there are those who talk about rebelling against the leaders, or they speak ill about the ulama, and these people live in Birmingham and just sit on chairs and do videos and stuff like this. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. How in the world are you going to tell me you're going to talk about a mountain of knowledge like Imam Al-Albani, or you're going to get in a debate with la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So we see many mukhalafat, many issues that really negate, aside from the manners and things like this, but really negate a lot of certain usul of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and their immersion with people who are not from the da'wah to Ahl Sunnah, who are mubtadi' adhal mudil. And we can easily say that. Even my limited knowledge and exposure to Muhammad Hijab, we know he does not sit with Ahl Sunnah. His guns are blazing against Ahl Sunnah. This guy is on Piers Morgan looking like a fool, okay? And things like this. This is not, wala shay, qareeb min as-sunnah. He doesn't have anything to offer from the sunnah, okay? So how is it that just because we like him, or he debates nicely, or he has such a big following, that we could be concerned with those things for making someone on the sunnah? La abadan. This guy hosts Yasir Qadi. Yasir Qadi is a beautiful sheikh to this guy and others, and those are minor mukhalafat compared to the many that others who have collected and who would know much better than I. So nam, just because regardless of his speaker's corners or spooker's corners, I don't care what kind of corner it is. The bottom line is, not from Ahl Sunnah if you're not from Ahl Sunnah. If your usul and your manhaj, your methodology is not from Ahl Sunnah, and you sit and eat and are immersed with Ahl Bid'ah, what do you have in common with Ahl Sunnah? Wala shay. Naam. May Allah help us and forgive us and guide us all. I mean, What do we say to the people who hate and are against Saudi Arabia and believe all the false information? What do we say to the people who hate? So what I say to people when I run into people who the first thing that they mention is Saudi Arabia and the leaders in Saudi Arabia and this and that and the other, as I mentioned, I just tell them with honesty that, I've lived there for many years and I have not seen a place on planet Earth like it. Not at all. What a qareeb. Not even a little bit. That doesn't mean I pledge allegiance to Saudi Arabia. It's not my society, but it is the land of Tawheed. So there's la shak, there's a love from that perspective in Mecca and Medina and ulama kibar and ulama sunnah kathir. And so much khair. So, and there's nothing on planet Earth like it. Okay? So I usually try to talk to people, if they want to talk about those things, with common sense and in a very easy way. My job is not to make people love and like Saudi Arabia or America or my city, or that doesn't mean anything. Okay? That's not my job. My job is to call people to the limited knowledge that I have. That's it. That's really what my job is. So it's not about allegiance to Saudi Arabia. So you don't want to go to one extreme or another. Okay? We don't defend Saudi Arabia in mistakes that are made in Saudi Arabia or politics or whatever. That's not our job. That's not the job of the mashayikh. It's not the job of the du'at. That's not what we're trained to do. It has nothing to do with us. Okay? However, if we're honest, I don't think there's any place on earth like Saudi Arabia. Regardless of mistakes, regardless of changes, regardless of this or that, it's still the land of Tawheed. That is still their curriculum. There is still immense khair there that you won't find on any other place in planet Earth. So this is how I talk to people. And I can have an honest conversation with them and say, hey, hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin. Bring your truth if you're being truthful. Bring your proof if you're being truthful. Why are you going to say you've made hijrah from a land of Muslims? Because a lot of times people, you come back to America or you're in another non-Muslim country, the first thing they'll say, how's Saudi Arabia? Oh, the leader's doing this. What's going on here? And I say, well, you have made hijrah yourself from the land of disbelief. I'm sorry, from the land of belief. Maybe you're from Philistine. Maybe you're from Pakistan. Maybe you're from this country. You're from this country, and you're living here in Dar al-Kufr. I don't really understand that from an Islamic perspective. So what's your issue with Saudi Arabia? This is a land of Tawheed where the Salat is established, where you can go to the mall and it's time for Salat and they shut it down and it's time to bow down. Okay? You're in the airport. You're coming in at 4 a.m. and Fajr. The Adhan's coming. So you're coming off the plane. You go in the terminal and people from planet Earth, from the Sharq wal Gharb, the left to the right, from this country to that country, from the North Pole to the South Pole, are bowing down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in unity. So I don't know what you're talking about, honestly. That's how I talk to them. So they shouldn't really say that to me, because then we're going head to head. But so anyway, bottom line is, don't get emotionally attached to that stuff. It has nothing to do with you. Maybe you live in Croydon, for all I know. What is your attachment to Saudi Arabia? Is you love it because it's the land of Tawheed. There's so much khair. There's ulama. Mecca and Medina is there. It's not about the politics. It's not about this. You're not there to defend. One of the mistakes, and I'll just come on out, that we see from some of our brothers from Ahl Sunnah, and I don't know where they got this from, but I think they got caught up a little bit somewhere. It's almost like they're waving a Saudi flag. That's not your job. You're a graduate from Jama Islamiyah, or you're this or that. I don't know where you got this. Where'd you get your flag from? That doesn't have anything. Your job is to call to the book and the Sunnah. Your job is to warn the people about rebelling and calling and attacking the leader. Your job is not to defend the leader if there are open sins and open mistakes. That's not your job. And I just came across, it was beautiful, because so many of the people who attack Sheikh Rabi' claim that, they're ulama sultan, they're ulama of this, they're this and that and other. But it was beautiful to find this clip. I put it in my playlist on YouTube because it was actually to hear him say this. I've heard this from other mashayikh who were students of Sheikh Rabi' or really close to Sheikh Rabi' who've mentioned this before to me. But this is the first time I ever heard Sheikh Rabi' say basically the same thing. Our job is not to defend anyone in mistakes. So you have to learn that these are qawaid and usul salafiyah. It's not about an allegiance. Your job is not what I've seen some of our brothers, especially in the UK, because I don't know in America if they do it like that. Even Salafees that are certain whatever. But in UK, some of the brothers, they go, it's like they got to wear a Saudi sweatshirt or something. No, that's not your job. Oh, Saudis invaded Yemen. Oh, this, they got to have a position and everything. That's not your job. That's not Salafiyah. Dawat Ahl Sunnah is dawatun kama qala Sheikh Muqbil, dawatun min kitabillah ila kitabillah. Wa min sunnati Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam ila sunnati Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. That's the dawat to Ahl Sunnah. It's calling to the book and the Sunnah. It's not about the politics. Oh, what is Yemen, the leader, doing? I don't agree with that policy, but yeah, I'm going to defend it. Yeah, and get it. No, that's not your job. Your job is not that. Your job is to call to the book and the Sunnah and adhere to the book and the Sunnah, refute batil, and adhere to Sunnah. Now, so when I see someone, I try to have a frank discussion with them about Saudi Arabia and say, hey, I personally have seen nothing like it. And sometimes I can say, yeah, I've been to your country before. You're not there for a reason, okay? But it's still, alhamdulillah, it's a land of Muslim, and it has khair, but it's not nothing like Saudi. That's the reality. So, yeah. So you remember, your job is not to defend Saudi Arabia. Your job is to learn Islam, practice it, call to the book and the Sunnah. Now, so we just went all the way. There's so many comments. I just wish we would just keep it down to the people who had questions. So we did the thing of Saudi Arabia. What did it say about Masjid al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyah, Sheikh Hassan Somali and Raha Bats? And when they say, so I know Sheikh Hassan Somali. Raha Bats, I don't know. I've seen the name before, but I don't know anything about him. And I was in Yemen with Hassan Somali, so I know him from back then. Same time with Rashid. This is where I met all those guys at the same time. When they say something about Riyadh season, which is something Saudi did this year, bring women to dance and sing, how do we respond to these people? We don't respond to them. We say Allah musta'an. Again, your job is not to defend falsehood. Your job is not to defend sins. That's not your job. Your job, as Imam Ahmed wa kathir min ulama of the Salaf, they used to make dua for the Sultan. The Sultans used to kill people, oppress people, many mistakes, many sins. Like we see today, many sins out in the open. No one can defend that. How could you defend that? Your job is not to defend that. Your job is not even to, if someone starts talking to me about MBS or this and that and the other, I say, may Allah guide him. He's a Muslim leader. Khalas, intahina. May Allah guide him. May Allah guide the Muslim leaders so they can lead the people to the book and the Sunnah and guide them and forgive them of their mistakes and help them to do good and righteousness. This is what I learned from the Usul al-I'tiqad Ahl Sunnah, Sharh Sunnah Imam Barbahari, in the books of the Salaf. It's not about getting into the politics and that you have to defend falsehood. So I think somewhere along the line, some of the people have some misconceptions about what Salafi is, and that you've got to, so what's going on in Riyadh season? I don't have anything to do with it. It happened after I left, and even if I was there, I wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So my thing is, yes, there are changes. Yes, there's sin. There's open sin. Things have changed a lot, and it's changing. But we make dua, because if we lose Saudi, I don't know, all the other Muslim clubs, Muslim countries, they already had clubs. I don't know if we can name one Muslim country, except maybe Afghanistan, which is pretty shot out. I don't think most of us would want to live there. We hope for their guidance, but we kind of like some peace and stability and stuff like that. But most of the Muslim countries, if not maybe all, except at one point Saudi Arabia, maybe some of the Gulf countries to a greater or lesser extent. I don't know if there's nightclubs in Kuwait. I don't know. In Qatar, I think there's a little bit of that stuff. But yeah, this is unfortunate reality. So what you do is you make dua for the ruler. My job is not to defend the ruler. No matter how good and khair I see in Saudi Arabia, my job has nothing to do with defending sins. Oh, they did a Christmas tree. Oh, may Allah guide us in them, because what can I do about it? And does that change my position? I'm going to become a takfeeree because of that? No. My position is going back to those books, and those books told me, and those books in the Aqwal of the Salaf, and more important, Kitab wa Sunnah, has already let me know that, hey, my job is not to rebel against the ruler. My job is not to defend the ruler mistakes, But but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, في كتابه الكريم, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. Obey Allah and obey His Messenger and those charged in authority over you. Okay, I'm not under Saudi Arabia anymore, but they're still a Muslim leader, so my job is not to speak about and be, of course, there's no Sharia maqsad in speaking ill about the Muslim rulers. There's no Sharia basis for that and good in that. You know, I have no effect on their politics, nor is it from usul i'tiqad wala usul manhaj Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah to get involved in that. Now, so yeah, Riyadh season, may Allah guide us in them and protect them from going further, you know, and opening up more so. May Allah guide us in them. That's what we say. Because we would lose such a bastion for the ummah. Naam. Okay, so many comments, so I don't know. So I'll try to quickly skim through some of this. Why can't those be considered from the forgiven mistakes? Scholars of the past were bigger mistakes considered from Ahl Sunnah, because the scholars from the past, so one of the things you find, that's a good question, that the mukhalafat, so you'll find scholars from Ahl Sunnah in the past who made severe mistakes in Aqidah even. From the Salaf to those later, Ahl Hadith. And no one took them off the Sunnah. Okay, maybe they're criticized for things, and no one follows them in their mistakes. But the khidmah, the service that they left for Islam is number one. And secondly, they were not known to be people of hawa. They were known to be people of piety. We cannot say the same for people, a lot of these people of contemporary times, who a lot of times their piety or their lack thereof is exposed. And a lot of times we see their open hizbiyah, you know, it's an emotional attachment to a party, a group, a sect, and their aim and their fire is at Ahl Sunnah and the manhaj in the books of Ahl Sunnah. How many of those people you just named, they talk about classic, beautiful text such as this, Sharh Sunnah Imam Barbahari. And they say, oh, this is, come on. Yeah, may Allah bless us in you and forgive us in you. But hopefully that answers your question a little bit, because there's just no comparison to the people of desires versus imams that made mistakes. There's mistakes, and then there's people who follow a path. They look, if you look at, even, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about Muhammad Hijab even, but the tiny bit I've seen, these people look for ways to undermine Ahl Sunnah. They search, they do videos, they philosophize, they theorize, they infer any way. They make videos to undermine book classical text in order to try to pull a rug out, which they believe they could do, from Ahl Sunnah. But they can't. وَلَوْ كَرِيَ الْأَهْلَ بِدْعَ وَلَا كُفْرٍ. They can't do it. So this is a huge difference between the people of desires and hawa. That's why you should never get so attached. I did a video today talking about this. Not to allow attachments to personalities deceive you. We easily can get emotional. That's one of the reasons why the Salaf didn't sit with the people of bid'ah and desires, because it's very difficult. If you become close with someone and you see they're making mistake after mistake and their manhaj, their usul is going out the window, or it's just far away from Ahl Sunnah anyway, you're going to easily begin to try to justify for them, because you have an an affection, an affinity, a tie with them. And this is what happens. People get attached. So yes, you benefited from such and such tapes from Yasir Qadhi and such conversation and debate, Muhammad hijab or this one or that one. That doesn't make them, even if you receive some good, that does not mean that they don't have a wealth of sickness to infect you with as far as Aqidah and as far as methodology. And or, it could be Aqidah, it could be Minhaj, or it could be a little bit of both. To distort you and deter you from what's more critical, and that is knowing your deen based on the book and the sunnah and the minhaj, the methodology of the Salafist ummah. So, don't ever allow those things to cloud you. What I say to you, may Allah bless us in you, forgive us in you, and guide us in you, and rectify our condition and yours, is that you should look into those issues. If you have a real attachment to Muhammad hijab and you just see some mistakes, I say you should look at those knowledge-based refutations if there are any. Hopefully there are some. Hopefully they're not just emotional name-calling. But look, and there's enough about Yasir Qadhi. There's tons, a plethora, to show you that those are serious mistakes. Because if you were to say, this is Allah's deen, you can't play with Allah's deen. That's why we're so different than the Salaf. If we're talking about classic scholars, now if we're talking about today in 2024, we can have our own parade of what we believe in minhaj and this and that and the other. But if we look at the classical scholars, the Sahaba were so vigilant about preserving the deen, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preserved the deen through that methodology, through that means, is because they were so stern about those issues. Can you imagine that they thought you were like a mubtadi'ah for playing with pebbles? I mean, not playing with pebbles, just counting. You were making dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then later mentioning, and we saw most of those people making dhikr with those pebbles, later they made khuruj against us, meaning they were from the Khawarij. Okay? They were very serious about Allah's deen. We are so light. It's just all about personalities and it looks good. He's got a lot of likes. His videos are popular. His screen is so nice. We have a whole different criterion instead of looking at the book and the sunnah and looking at those qawaid and those usul and that methodology and tamasik be. You can't be fooled by the emotional attachment. And so that's what I can say about that. There's a huge difference. You can't compare Ali Dawa or hijab or any of those guys to Imam Nawawi or Imam Abu Khuzaymah or whoever. No, you can't make no comparison in the contribution to Islam. La ilaha illallah. Naam. I think you said, but not mutlaq, right? Because the means has to be at least mubah. So I'm not sure. But yeah, the means has to be mubah, as we said, wasail laha kamal maqasid. So the means to that maqasid needs to, to that intent needs to be permissible. So you can't say, well, hey, I think I can attract more youth to Islam and my videos would go viral if I had some pretty girls in there. Maybe I just need a few cheerleaders in the background wearing niqab, but, skirts, just to make sure I can get more youth attracted to Islam. So now what have I done? I've taken that which is muharram to try to get a Sharia means. You understand? So I just exaggerated and gave you a way whacked out of proportion. Hopefully I didn't put anything in your mind, but the bottom line is that you cannot use the haram to get to the halal. That's not going to be beneficial. That's not going to be the means. That is not the tatbiq of that qaida. Rather, you have to use something which is normally permissible. Maybe I have some tea. What kind of tea did I have in here? Wish I had some more. I had not green tea, but I had peppermint tea. And peppermint tea, it's mubah, it's permissible. But I decide, hey, I'm going to make enough peppermint tea, and I'm going to go out in the small town or go into the nearest biggest city and give it out to the poor. Just give them a little cup. To the homeless, the people who are on fentanyl and stuff like this, I'm going to give them that and just say, hey, man, if you need any help or if I can help you out, man, we're out here looking out for you, man. Or, whatever. Give them a good word and a cup of my peppermint tea. Well, this is mubah. Now I'm using it for a good means. I'm doing it for da'wah ilallah. But I didn't make a rap song and with a beat and stuff like this to get the people to call them to Islam. You understand? So that's what we're talking about. I guess I did have a little bit of tea hidden under all that peppermint, but it's cold now. Now, so we'll try to skip down and get through these last things. So I saw somebody has a question because they put everything in caps. We'll try to get to it. I don't mind. I have time right now. So we're trying to get through as many as possible. I don't consider the Quran Muslim to be from the 76. What is our attitude towards Al-Jilani? Is he Khariji? I don't know. Maybe he's changed his. It wouldn't really matter in the sense that, I think this is also something I don't agree with. I don't know. Again, I'm kind of far out. I don't really look, but I can imagine in the English-speaking world that there's some Salafis talking about this, refuting him. He's the leader now. So there's no way we can now talk. It's okay to talk about him, but we can't talk about MBS. No, you can't. Kayfa tahkumun. He's now the leader of Syria, Jilani. Yes, he was a Khariji. He was with Al-Qaeda. Then he became Hizbah, whatever, Tahrir. I forgot what they called. Hizbah HTS. Okay. He blended and did his thing. And now they've taken over and now they are the leader. So we hope for their guidance. We hope for peace and stability in Syria. And it is not for Khalid Green, who is not an alim, and even you would find, I'm sure, I believe this firm wholeheartedly from my studies and from watching the ulama over years, you would not get Imam Fawzan to make a fatwa about Jilani, whatever his name is. Why? Fawzan would say the Syrians know best their hal, and that he is the leader now. This is what you're going to get from the major scholars, and this is what I advise you to look at this more. There are scholars that I love and respect, but they're young in age, and you can see some of they're going to be more inclined to mistakes and get into every issue, every latest thing. And they're scholars. I love them, and I listen to them. And I download every book they come out with. But when I want that rusukh, I go to the rasikhun, those imams like Imam Fawzan and others, and then you can have the raha, you can have some comfort. Because these imams are the teachers and teachers of those scholars. And these imams have gotten their beards white with experience and wisdom and ilm, was sunnah, wa tawheed, sineen, decades, half centuries. Okay? So when you see these imams speak, you see it a bit different. And you get a better, more balanced, and a better tasawwur. Because what I observe, and everyone makes mistakes, but when you see the major scholars, you see they make much less mistakes. And you see the diqqah, the precision, and you see that it's like they stay on a method, a minhaj, and it's consistent. You see this from Imam Fawzan. You really see this, honestly. If you look at his books, you look at his speech today, and you look at it 20 years ago, you just see that, you see that. Those are the rasikhun fil ilm. And I do got to go off. I'm not going to go off too much in a tangent, but I'm going to tell you something true. So I went to see Imam Saleh Suhaimi once because he lived, he didn't live close to me, but his office was close to in my neighborhood. So sometimes on the way to work, I would stop in, chop it up with the sheikh and ask him some questions. And once I asked him, and I'm not going to tell you who I asked him about, but I asked him about a particular situation, and it was so funny. I was trying not to use names, and then he said, "Oh, you mean Sheikh so-and-so?" And I said, "Yes, Sheikh." And then he said this to me. He said, his Sheikh is our Sheikh. But he said, unfortunately, those who came after him, yukhti kathir wa yusib qalil. And so he mentioned this alim that had died, rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatan wasiya, that he yusib kathir wa yukhti qalil. He gets things correct a lot, and he makes some mistakes. But his students, a particular one, makes lots of mistakes and gets things correct sometimes. And that was a big fight. That, for me, was a big lesson. Alhamdulillah, I'm not exaggerating. I share this with you because these things I have recorded too. One day I will try to bring out my recordings if they haven't gotten destroyed on those old hard drives and try to translate some of the sittings, because I used to have a lot of sittings. I would sneak my tape recorder. I didn't always ask them. Sometimes I'd ask, Sheikh, I'm going to record. Is it okay? Yes. Sometimes I just put it in my shirt, and just did my thing so I could have it, But, alhamdulillah. It looks like my battery's going to end this session pretty quick because I can't plug it in because I'm using this external mic. Actually, maybe it'll work without if I plug the mic in, if I unplug the mic. But anyway, it's a good time to get ready to end up. So I'm going to quickly try to end these last questions. I think I got how much percentage battery? I have 15%. So maybe I got another 5-10 minutes, I guess. Let's see what we got here. So I see a lot of capitals. Let's see if we can get to the capitals things. Brother Yahya sent his question once he was answered to do the same. What Hamid? What I understand that it's the method. We excuse him. Statements that they aren't upon the Sunnah. This would explain other statements. I'm not sure what you're saying. Are not from Ahl Sunnah. They fight against Ahl Sunnah. How long were you in Yemen? I've been to Yemen many times. A year here, 8 months here, another year here. Probably overall, maybe like 3 years, something like this. Question who said, Khalid, did Sheikh Al-Albani not see Ikhwanis from the 72 sects? I don't know as far as detail. There may be some old fatawa where he may have thought they were okay, maybe. But then later, no doubt, I'm sure if I were to do research, we could dig up and find, I'm sure he did not, his students, and he did not support Ikhwan al-Muslimin. But you got to remember, Imam Al-Albani, these imams, they were there when these organizations began, when it wasn't clear, but I'm almost positive I have some in book form and stuff like this, statements of Imam Al-Albani talking about Hassan al-Banna. No doubt he's done extensive expose. So no, I can't say, I don't believe that he did not hold them to be the 72 sects. Of course he did. But again, we could always, those are things worthy of research to repel people's doubts. Why can't those things from hijab be considered? And I think we already answered this. We did kind of answer that already. I recommend the video said Faris Al-Hamidi, or maybe Hamidi, exposing the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, there's a lot of tons. Muslim Brotherhood, it's well known. They're not from Ahl Sunnah in that sense. The Muslim Brotherhood, So one of the things you have to know about Ikhwan al-Muslimin, I'll try to be as quick as possible. They are not, and I hold this position like Imam Saleh al-Sheikh. And he was asked about groups. So I believe there's a difference between a sect and a group. A sect is united upon the Aqidah. Ashari, Khawarij, Qadariya, Mu'tazila, Jahmiyyah. They have a common Aqidah. This is why they are a sect. Okay? A group like Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Jamaat al-Tabligh is not unified. Maybe their asl is rigid Ahnaf, and they are, maybe like Deobandi or Deobandi in their whatever, in their Rasul, and they have that. But from a Jamaat al-Tabligh, you'll have so many people going with Jamaat al-Tabligh. That's why they are not considered, in my view, some will disagree with this, a sect. They are a group, a Jama'ah, a Hizb. And a Hizb, that could be more, a lot of times they're collectively, it's their minhaj, their methodology of deviancy. Okay? So there's a big difference. Ikhwan al-Muslimin is a deviant group. Jamaat Ikhwan al-Muslimin. They are the Muslim Brotherhood. So from amongst the Muslim Brotherhood, you'll find, and even Jamaat al-Tabligh, you'll find people that have generally a Salafi Aqidah with regards to the divine names and attributes, the categories of Tawheed, and things like this. But then maybe they depart on some issues in Aqidah, but definitely in Manhaj. There are people who go with Jamaat al-Tabligh that they are Salafi in their Aqidah. But then they just feel that, hey, there's a greater benefit of going with them and correcting them, and I see the good work they do. They have deviated in their methodology, according to the contemporary scholars of Ahlul Sunnah, who've pretty unanimously said do not go. Many of the fatwa from the major scholars from the time of Imam Al-Albani and bin Baz and so forth, of course, they had some initial fatwa which were said okay, and then they changed at the end of their life once they got to be clear about what Jamaat Tabligh was about and their Aqidah from their source of their leaders. Okay, so those are differences there. Not sure why I opened that bab up. Oh, we're talking about Ikhwan al-Muslimin. So that's a little bit about Ikhwan al-Muslimin. Now, one of the street dawah person. You have some really nice camera for those videos you take in the wild. Could that be used for these lives? Could that be? Oh, this is my main source camera that I use. But it's because of my lighting. I live off grid. So I live, these are solar. My power is solar. I'm not running off the government's electricity. So with that being the case, I don't have all the greatest features. This is my lighting. Because of the lighting, it's probably a little grainy, especially in lives. Lives are not like, if I turn it not live and I do a camera, it'll be clearer than doing a live stream because you're dealing with the internet usage and all that other stuff. But anyway, ala kulli hal. The main thing is you can hear. That's what it's all about. No, like Fuzan, Sheikh Rabi, Imam Abdul Muhsin, Kibar Ulama, Street Dawah. One of the Street Dawah persons we're talking about said to someone I know who does Street Dawah, I don't condone this type of dawah. Put a woman on your thumbnail and you will get more views. Yeah, may Allah guide the people. I mean, I am under the impression that we go to the Kibar Ulama, those senior in knowledge and age, but what about one who is, oh, man, it almost died. I don't know what happened. I lost your question. Let me see if I can find it. Because I'm going to try to go quickly through this. Wow, a lot of questions now. I'm under the impression that we go to the Kibar Ulama, those seniors in knowledge. What about the one who was involved in bid'ah until a late stage in life? It doesn't matter. If he's a scholar from Ahlul Sunnah, khalas, take knowledge from him. That's it. Simple. Don't make it complicated. He was this, he was that, he was a Sufi, he was that. Khalas, if he's from Ahlul Sunnah, khudh ilman. He's calling to the book and the Sunnah, take knowledge from him. Why not post the video in Arabic as they are? Why not post the video in Arabic as they are? I don't know. My Arabic is far from perfect, so I don't know. I don't know what you're really talking about, actually. They're Ahl Bid'ah when there was more known, and they were more dangerous. Is all the truth within Ahl Sunnah, meaning in every fiqh matter, or can it be said that a certain fiqh topic, an Ashari, Ahl Sunnah always, there's always going to be someone from Ahl Sunnah who is going to be know the truth. It's not going to be restricted to Ahl Bid'ah, abadan. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La tazal ta'ifatun min ummati dhariyan al-haq." There won't cease to be a group of my nation who's on the truth. That does not negate the fact that people may have some bid'ah or maybe a mubtadi'ah and be knowledgeable in areas. There are some scholars who are very knowledgeable, and I see all the times mashayikh, Ahl Sunnah, quoting from serious mubtadi'ah. But because they were so knowledgeable in tafsir and so knowledgeable in Arabic language, they were like a massive resource. So you see this, you'll find this in books all the time from scholars of Ahl Sunnah doing their research. The scholars will go back and refer to those individuals, but the haqq is with Ahl Sunnah, so you don't have to. There's no need for going to Ahl Bid'ah. You don't need to. موجود أهل السنة وأهل العلم من أهل السنة. Now, I live in a community with one masjid and the practicing are mostly Ikhwani, Deobandi, or Sufi. Can you give me some advice in dealing with community? I've done a lot of videos about this with community members who don't like Salafis who push Ashari. My advice would be you go, you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there, you seek your knowledge, hopefully not there, but with Ahl Sunnah, and you're not there to get in a battle, to discuss, to go to war. If that's what they're pushing, let them push it. You make sure you're grounding yourself, you're building yourself, and that hopefully you'll be in a community that you'll find more from Ahl Sunnah. This is the best. Now, I'm in Abdulaziz Al-Hakan Academy. We're studying one of the Sharh of Alama Ali Sheikh, Mountain of Knowledge. Absolutely, he is a mountain of knowledge. May Allah preserve him. Did Ikhwani start long before Sheikh Al-Albani passed away? Why do you say it just started then? I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know what you're talking about as far as Ikhwan al-Muslimin began with Hassan al-Banna, and that was probably in the I'm not sure, maybe 1930s, 1920s. I'm not really sure. They're as old as that. And it started as like a social movement, kind of like a charitable organization. But Hassan al-Banna, he laid his usul and his qawaid down. So they're very old. Maybe the 1940s. I'm not really sure. Something like this. What's the difference between group and sect? So I already told you that, and I already mentioned. What is this mistake in Islam according to your knowledge? What is called mistake? Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. It started around the time. Mr. Gray, how are you? What? Muhammad Sa'id. Men Muhammad Sa'id. Balaghani. Men. Why did the Sufis say about Ibn Taymiyyah committed anthropomorphism? Very big, long questions. You can't do anything about that. You could do your research. It really doesn't matter. Who cares what anybody says about Ahl Sunnah, honestly. Just atlab al-ilm, seek knowledge. Tawakkal ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't get too much caught in the controversies. Those deviants. Barakallah feek. Feekum barakallah. Where were you from, Salafi? Is it better to pray in a Deobandi masjid or a Sunni musalla? So, it's better to pray, obviously, behind Ahl Sunnah. You are going to determine what's going to be best for you if it's in your local place. So if you are close, where you're going to be able to establish the prayer, and it happens to be Deobandi, meaning they are Deobandi not outside the fold of Islam. I'm not talking about those who have bid'ah mukaffara. It depends on the aqidah of the imam. If they have bid'ah mukaffara, you can't pray behind wherever they are. As long as they're in the fold of Islam, you can pray behind them. They are Muslim, you can pray behind a Muslim. But as long as they don't have bid'ah mukaffara, which takes them out of the fold of Islam, they make dua to the dead, make dua to goats and animals. Well, khalas, you can't pray behind anyone like this. Now, Sayyid Qutb was a massive member of Ikhwan Muslimin. Of course he was. He changed the ideology. It became a very much more violent movement because of his experience of being imprisoned and his particular experience and his influence as later coming after Hassan al-Banna and so forth. Is it better to pray? I'm part Mauritanian and French. May Allah bless us and you. Sayyid Qutb Ikhwani is as well? Of course he was. I'm a jury from their founders. You said that it was a recent group in the time of no, I don't know. That was a mistake of the tongue or something you misunderstood. I just told you it started in maybe the 30s, 40s, something like this. Is it permissible and rewardable to listen to the Quran in Arabic and English while exercising to going to work or the store? While exercising, Allahu Alam. I don't think that's the best place to listen to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, I used to listen to a lot of lectures when I would work out. When I first started kind of being a little more serious about working out, I'd say, in Medina. That was my next revival because I'd gotten way away from health when I was living in Medina. You know, I was just eating bad food and going to a lot of durus because, you know, you're in Medina. What can you do? And you're a young man, so you can run around and do that. But I started working out my last couple years in Medina. And I used to listen to Sheikh Muqbil when I was working out on the bench. Now, is permissible reward? So, listening on the work, I listen to work. That's how I get most of my listening, kind of somewhat revising Quran, a lot of times on the way to work early in the morning in my car. If you know that shirk is not permissible, but somehow you forgot that shirk's not permissible, is that? Yeah, that's a strange question. Yes, you'll be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushrika bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalik liman yasha. So make forgiveness and tawbah for anything that you do which is a sin or a mistake. Because it's made a takfeeree, I've never seen such a thing. Is sending a fake live location at a point considered lying? I don't know. No, it's kind of a strange question. How do we get swole? May Allah help us and forgive us, Abid. I remember you saying you were a musician. How and when did you stop listening to music? I stopped listening to music a long time ago. Yes, I was a singer. Now, Imam Mahdi, his name will be Muhammad ibn Abdullah and comes from lineage. And it shall be proved correct. Okay. Oh, like Ustad Wajdi. Like Ustad Wajdi. I'm not sure what you're saying about Abu Musab. If you know that shirk is not permissible, I just answered that. Why is Dr. Yasser not a mushrik? He excuses major shirk even when you call upon the Sufi sheikhs. But for one, this would be an issue of ta'wil. Okay, they have their whole arguments, and I don't know anybody who just makes takfir, blanket takfir like that of the people. So we have to be very careful of that. There's a whole methodology. That's why there's whole methodological differences between Ahl Sunnah and Aqidah. For example, the Ashiris and Mu'tazila and Ahl Kalam. Big differences. And with that being the case, Ahl Sunnah did not make takfir of those, unless you have bid'ah mukaffara. So a lot of they have the excuse of ta'wil because they have a different understanding, a whole different methodological approach. So Ahl Sunnah doesn't make takfir of them. This is the mokif. As far as Yasir Qadi, I definitely would be far away from making takfir of him. Now, I heard someone said that sheikhs, one of the mashayikh, maybe Khalid Misri or Khalid Uthman or somebody made takfir of him because of what the people explained to him. Allahu alam, I don't have anything to do with that. Yasir Qadi is a mubtadi'ah, it's clear. I believe he has, a lot of stuff. We can go on and on about that. May Allah guide us in him. No. Abu Musab was a rapper. That's Interesting. Islam. Sorry. Do you still see Ustad Abu Taymiyyah as Salafi? I haven't talked to him. Yes, I do, because from what I know of him, I know him to be Salafi. He has the Salafi Aqidah, Salafi methodology. I don't follow up on him. I haven't talked to him in over a year, probably. So unless there is something to show me, something that comes as a proof, I don't just change because the wind blows or because people say this or people say that. I don't really, to me, that stuff is inconsequential. If you want to make tabdi of him, go ahead. You can't, no one can force me. That's just the way it is. I could care less if someone claims I'm Salafi or not. I know who I am. I know what I call to, and I'm going to continue to call upon that bi'idhnillah ta'ala and seek forgiveness for any mistakes and sins that I do. Now, but as far as that, my position is the same. I don't follow up people's mistakes. Again, I don't even spend time with the Mubtadi like Yasser Qadi and other people like this. I don't spend a lot of time on that stuff, you know? It's sending a fake location, so I don't know. I don't know anything about that. You know, it's better not to be deceptive and doing names on the YouTube and fake names. If you see a comment from Khalid Green, it's me. I mean, that's how I do it. I don't make a new one. I'm Spacehead or, you know, whatever, Golden Eyeball. I don't know. How come scholars make takfir of Saddam Hussein? Some things are referred to with regards to the issue of takfir as ma'loom bin ad-din bi-darura. Ma'loom bin ad-din bi-darura. So those are big things. You could go to Majmu'ah Fatawa of Imam bin Baz, and you can get what he said and why he said with regards to Saddam Hussein. Some things are well known. If someone says, hey, I'm going to worship a dog now, or I'm going to change the Quran, and I'm going to take all the qul's out, as Gaddafi did, well, you don't really, it's not necessary, hey, Gaddafi, let's explain it to you. You know, there are things that are known, the scholars have written about it extensively, ma'loom min ad-din bi-darura. So it's known in the religion by necessity. You can't step on the Quran. You can't say, no, I'm going to take some pages out. No, I'm going to do it's known. You don't have to. No one's got to come in. You know, maybe they need to check and see if you're Majnoon, you're crazy or something like this. But no, it doesn't require a lot of intricate things. What about Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk? Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk. I don't. The Sheikh is the Sheikh. You're talking about the one who gives dawah in Cali. So I know him for good. Doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything or everyone you get together with or what have you. But I know him to call to the Sunnah, and he's doing a lot of good dawah. I don't know, maybe you know something better than me. May Allah help us and guide us. I listened to a lecture he gave in Medina. Okay, mashallah. What is your position on Abu Hassan? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Why would you ask a crazy question like that? Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi, this is a fitna and a thing from when? How many years ago? Like 20 years ago? Honestly. I want to know what your position is. Please type it in and give me dalil. Then I'll answer your question. He said he calls it the way it's done. It's called a mistake if you know that a deed is a bad deed or bad deed. Did in a state of a forgetfulness is a bad deed. Oh, is it called a mistake? So you're asking a question. Is it called a mistake if you know that a deed is a bad deed, but you did it in a state of forgetfulness? That deed is a bad deed. It's too late at night for me to try to wrap my hand around that. May Allah bless us in you and forgive us in you and guide us in you. You know, you'll be forgiven for things you did mistakenly. It's simple. Just go to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a lot of times you'll find the answer right there. Don't make it overly complicated and overly difficult. Now, if a ruler presents hijab, is he a kafir? No. No. This is a great munkar. It is a sin. But no, that doesn't take you out of the fold of Islam. It does not take you out of the fold of Islam. Now, it's a type of oppression. It's a type of sin. Does decorating a Christmas tree for fun make you a mushrik? No. That doesn't make you a mushrik ala tul. So a lot of these things you got to think about Whenever you think about the issue of Tawheed and the issue of Shirk, you've got to think, ماذا وجه دلالة? You know, how does the Nas indicate such and such? What makes this Shirk and not just kufr? What makes this such and not such and such? So this is very important to ground yourself in Aqidah and in thing to... now, my phone's about to die. Said I got 5%. UAE is killing Muslim. I don't know. You should ask him. Who Uthman? I don't consider him a Salafi because of the affiliates, but I don't impose that. Just me. Okay, sounds good. Avoid harmful individuals. When can one lie for a benefit? Being able to be with the Salafis. Being able to be with the Salafis. I don't know. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Almighty to accept our good and forgive our evil. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.